This is Superboy issue 50, a special anniversary issue celebrating that the book will be cancelled 4 issues after this one. We have briefly touched on this Superboy before. This isn't the version of Superboy that I like. This isn't the 90s Superboy. This is the pre-Christmas on Infinite Earth Superboy, who is actually just Superman when he was young. Superman Jr. would probably be a more appropriate name for him. And then the other thing, why I bought this, I was hoping that it would help gently wean me in the League of a Superman. The League of a Superman, they are a hugely popular team of D-listers in the DC books, and I have never gotten into them or been able to get into them. I only ever had one League of a Superman comic, and it was an issue starring this character here, Neutron. It was just an issue all about him, telling his origin, so he's like the only one that I really know. This one out here, Pulsar, he was in that issue too, but he didn't do anything. He was just the one that Neutron was telling his history to. And then this one down here is called Shapeshifter. And it would always be like this. It'd be the case that whenever the League of a Superman showed up, I'd not know the characters, or I'd have no idea who any of them were meant to be or what their powers were. So I got this because I thought it would be like a useful exercise for us. Based on this cover, we have got 3 members that are now, like Neutron and Superboy and kinda Pulsar. And then one extra one, Shapeshifter, that this could introduce us to and start slowly building up my awareness of the League of a Superman. Of course, I would say part of getting into the League of a Superman, it feels pointless since currently Michael Brian Benson is writing their book, and I want now to do with that, and he will predictably ruin them if he hasn't already. I know that he made them all effeminate teenagers and a lot of them be black. He's bloomin' obsessed with underage black teenage girls. I was right about Warren Fallis and Cameron Fletcher, so I reckon that Michael Brian Benson, he is gonna be outed in 2022. This book is set in the future, in the 30th century or thereabouts, and the plot for this one is this fella, he decides to go to the Museum of Heroes and steal the magic telephone called Movie Phone. And out here is where I can happily say that this book did a fantastic job. This was exactly what I wanted in terms of setting up and introducing us to Shapeshifter. In this opening scene, he is by himself, he is at the museum to give a speech, and then the robbery guns down and we get to see a lot of his interactions and thoughts. And out here we get to see him try and stop the thief. But the thief, he uses Movie Phone to transform into a character with tornado powers. That is the gimmick of Movie Phone. It tells you what films are on at the cinema, but it takes an hour to do so. And in that hour, you can transform into whatever films are out at the cinemas. And there must be a remake of Twister in the 30th century, because in this case, he gets tornado powers. Maybe in the 30th century, we can finally get the old trans remake of Twister that we deserve. Shapeshifter, he uses his powers to try and halt the tornadoes and restrain the thief. Really good this, I really am glad this is how they opened. It really does serve the purpose I wanted this book to serve. With that said though, there is more members of the League of a Superman than on the cover, which presents a small issue for us. There's not many more, there's only 3 more. There is Mentor, Titan and Voyager. The thief, who really needs a name but the book doesn't give him one, he escapes from Shapeshifter, so he has to call in some more of the League of a Superman. And here we are introduced to Superboy. In the 20th century, Superboy, he stops the hijacking of a fighter jet, and then he goes to hang out with his friends, and one of them is called Bashford, and he may have stepped out of an issue of the Beano. This bit was Superboy chilling with his homies. It's like the weakest part of the issue. Bashford, he slips and he falls in the lake. He really is just out of a Beano strip. And the thief travels back in time and meets Lenny Lufas, and they decide to team up and they break Lenny Lufas out of prison. And then Superboy, he gets to snog a girl, so that is good. And he goes home and he gets an alert from the League of a Superman. And here they all are. Mentor, Pulsar, Titan, Shapeshifter, Neutron and Voyager. Sadly, we are not introduced that well to any of the other characters. But other than Voyager, they all have memorable and distinctive looks. I will say, there is not a single lass among them, so I think this League of a Superman, they need to be hashtag cancelled. So they have come back in time to stop the thief. We have some more stuff with Lenny Lufas and him and their alliance, which is, as expected, fragile at best. They're both just waiting around for their first chance to turn on the other. And then the League of a Superman, they split up to search for their charge. And Superboy and Pulsar, they gone off together. And this means we get a little bit more of seeing Pulsar. So this is good for me too. Pulsar, he used to be called Impulse, but they changed his name because they introduced another Impulse. That is another problem with these League of a Superman characters. They all change their names because Marvel usually introduce another character with that name. Like Neutron, he actually used to be called Kazar. And Shapeshifter, he used to be called Obgobbler. So he has Superboy and Pulsar. They fight a thief who has used movie phone to become a super strong hairy man. Jason Momoa must have had a film out. Actually, Pulsar, he gets a better showing than Superboy in this skirmish. Most of you probably already know this, but Pulsar, he is like a gas or an energy thing. Like, that is him there. And his suit, it's like a containment suit. It contains him and it makes him look like a human. There was a Van Morrison Excellent Men character like that too. So honestly, this one has done its job of cluing us in on them two characters on the cover. We have got another of these smaller groups. It's not a DC story if a team doesn't break up into 2 or 3 man units. Here we have got Mentor and Voyager, two of the characters that I know nothing about. They encounter Lenny Lufas, and sadly, this little scene doesn't do the job of remedying the fact that I didn't know these two characters. Lenny Lufas, he defeats them easily, and then the League of a Superman, they all get together again, raising the question of why they even bothered splitting up, or why we had that scene with Mentor and Voyager getting beaten. So then they decide to go and do a barbecue, and Cosmo, the super cat, is there, and that is good because Cosmo is cute. And Superman and Cosmo, they track down Lenny Lufas, and then we have got our final fight with the thief, who has used movie phone to transform into a speedster. And then there's this whole subplot about Superboy's friends from earlier in the issue. They are transformed into villains by movie phone, and this really only happens to mainly keep the League of a Superman busy, and it makes all of the League of a Superman look really bad in fights. And this just happens so that Superboy can fight the thief by himself, and he gets to defeat the villain one-on-one. Of course, though, Cosmo the Super Cat helps out because he's a good boy. And then Superboy, he also gets to defeat all the other villains, the ones that his friends have been transformed into. This one here is Bash Bashford, for example. I get that this is Superboy's book, but this is kind of really damning to the League of a Superman. The whole team, they felt that he's nobodies. But Superboy, he can handle them really quickly just by himself. They all transform back to normal, and then Cosmo, the super cat, he gets his hands on Movie Phone, which was converted to a watch a while ago, and I never bothered pointing that out. I bloomin' love Cosmo the super cat though. He is such a good boy. Look at him, he is adorable. He's like Captain America when Captain America became an Alsatian. He is cute as a button. And we end Back in the Future with Shapeshifter. The League, they have all returned to the future, and he rounds off the story by returning to the museum and giving them back Movie Phone / watch, which was obviously chewed up and destroyed by Cosmo. But it's okay because the museum, they have got another one in storage. There are two fronts on which I have to assess this issue. Firstly, what I wanted, which was, based on the cover, a story that could slowly nurse me into the League of a Superman and introduce us and make us more familiar with these two characters, Pulsar and Shapeshifter. And this comic absolutely does that. It achieves that. Those are the two members of the team that actually get a D summit, and I feel like I learnt a little bit about. That is good. The other front is the quality of the story, which I think is quite lame. Lenny Luthor, he didn't have to be there. He contributed nothing to the plot besides being a familiar face to bring out for Superboy's 50th issue. Easily, half of the League of a Superman characters did nothing. Some of them, like Neutron or Titan, they really did nothing. And the others, like Mentor and Voyager, their only action was getting beaten. The whole strand with Superboy's friends being transformed, that was like a last minute complication that was only there to basically get rid of the League from the final fight. And the payoff to everything is Cosmo the Super Cat to the rescue. I'm fine with that. Cosmo the Super Cat is brilliant, but it felt like for 40 pages of story, I definitely would have enjoyed it more with a more clear focus instead of this effort to try and include everything that they could into the story. I wouldn't recommend this, to be honest. I think it did what I wanted it to do, so I can't say that it is disappointing or bad, but I felt like the plotting was quite weak. I rate this 7 thumbs up.